Hey everyone, it's Matt here.
How's it going, everybody? This is your friend Will. Hope everything is going great with you.
Welcome back to another episode of Savants Tech Talk. Now, you're looking to land a job as a software developer. You're going to need to work on a resume that catches the employer's attention enough to click on it and also captivates them enough to look at it. Just to get a few of the basics out of the way, obviously be mindful of the email you use. You don't want to use your old fireskull22@hotmail.com account because not only will it come off unprofessional because of the silly name, but also because you're still using Hotmail.
This is not an offense to Fireskull. We're not saying that Fireskull is silly. So if you're a big fan of Fireskull, we don't mean to offend you. But it's just that at workplace, it is preferred that you use your real name. Just it. And also, even Hotmail, even Microsoft rebranded Hotmail as Outlook. So as a technologist, it's best to stay current with the current technology landscape.
And obviously don't lie on your resume. If you say you have practical experience using Python and you can't answer very basic Python questions, then you just lost the job.
To not sell yourself. Like, let's say you spend your entire career working on Python. Like for the last 10 years, you've worked with every single library. You want to elaborate on what projects you've worked on, right? You want to be truthful so that other people can really understand your full potential, but you don't want to exaggerate too much, right? You don't want to oversell at the same time, right? Let's say you picked up Python yesterday and you just called yourself a Python senior developer. That thing is not gonna fly. You're gonna expose yourself real bad, real quick. You know what I'm saying? So don't waste everybody's time. Just be truthful about your real capability and your real experience.
Another very trivial but very important thing a lot of people forget is avoid spelling mistakes. Make sure you go back and reread it. Make sure everything is spelled correctly. I can't emphasize how important that is and how many resumes we've had come in with major spelling mistakes.
It's nice to know a person named Jason, but like we want Jason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how many times that this has happened, man. And it just shows that you're not really serious about finding a job because you don't even bother using WordCheck or read through your resume yourself. And honestly, this has happened to me. I walk the walk, man. Like in the past, when I applied for, I think, something that requires JavaScript, I sent my resume over. I was so certain that I was qualified for the job, but I didn't get any phone calls. And then so I called the HR. It turns out I misspelled the word JavaScript. And they built an automation script that filters out any resume that don't have those keywords.
And another trivial but useful tip is when you're naming the file of your resume, also put your first and last name in there. That way, it not only stands out more when they're actually looking at the resumes, but it's easier for them to come back to and find again as well.
You don't want it to be like, they looked through a bunch of resume and they made a note, the senior developer is really a good fit for the role. And then when they type senior developer, 10 resumes come out, and then the HR person just picked the first one, which is not you. So they picked you, but they picked the wrong person. This apparently has happened before. And don't let that happen to you, is what I'm saying.
Now that we've gotten the trivial stuff out of the way, let's get into the good stuff. First of all, you're gonna wanna keep all of the content on your resume, or at least as much of it as possible, relevant to the job posting. I can't tell you how many times we've had people applying for a position as a developer, but most of their work experience listed as retail work. Now, if you have nothing else, like no other work experience, that's completely understandable. But if you're in that position, it's best to have some personal projects to include in there that include the relevant skills as well. And also to look at it from the other perspective, if you're a very technical person, and say, for example, you're wanting to apply for a Java position, you're probably not going to want to list too much Node experience, for example.
Yeah, well, you can briefly mention it, but keep in mind that the hiring manager only have so much time in their day to screen through resumes, right? So you have to put the emphasis and the focus on the projects or the experience that you have towards the actual skill sets that are relevant. We're not saying that don't put it on there, because it can definitely show that you have experience within the software industry, but just, mind what's the current job title, right? And also you can make the connection from your past experience that may not seem like directly related to what you're doing. For instance, say you work in a consulting industry, right? You work for a software consultancy, could be Deloitte, Accenture, I don't know. And you list all the skill set like JavaScript, Python, all these stuff in there. And say you previously worked in a bar as a server, right? You can also put that experience on there and just tell them you're good at communicating with people and good at, giving the customer a good customer experience. And because you're client facing, this can be a lot of value add. You just have to make sure you're able to make that connection.
The next point is a step up from this. You actually want to pay attention to the very specific requirements on the job posting. If they're looking for someone experienced in React, Node.js, Python, and AWS, if you have those skills, make sure that they're easy to find on your resume. Those keywords could likely be the first thing that they're looking for. In the digital age, the hiring manager could simply just be using Control or Command F to look specifically for these keywords.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, they may even use like automation script. Then even if they look at your resume, if they see check mark, oh, does this person have React, Node.js, AWS, and work with Kubernetes? Bingo bango, like that's really going to help them lock down your actual position. And also there's the actual industry specific experience you have. Make sure it's on there. Like for instance, if you work at insurance company and you're applying for another insurance company position, then chances are you're going to have a much better chance than the rest of the candidates, right? Make sure that you emphasize that, either highlight it or put that in the first paragraph. Like make sure you write a small intro. I have worked at an insurance company in the past and I love working there, yada, 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 all the good stuff. And that will definitely increase your chance of getting an interview.
As well, just jumped into the next point. You want to try and prioritize your most relevant experience at the very top. Put the most valuable information near the top, because otherwise, if you put the most useful stuff at the bottom, their eyes are never going to reach down to there.
If they hire like a Java developer, they look at the resume and it says React. Okay, that's cool. Node.js, Ruby on Rails. I'm a really good system admin. What? They're just gonna give up on the resume. They're not gonna read all the way to the bottom, right? They're gonna just be like, next. So make sure that you put their most relevant experience on top so that they can see it right away. In this day and age, you have to win your audience right off the bat.
The next useful thing that you should know is that you should highlight practical examples of the skills being used. Don't just list that you know Python or that you know AWS, but give examples of projects that you've been involved in, the results of those projects, and your key responsibilities in those projects.
Right, if you work in a big company, an enterprise, chances are you're only responsible for a small fraction of a big project. And if you can elaborate on what's the value contribution of that small component, then that can help you make a much better case and show the hiring manager that you really understand the project from end to end. And also, if you work in a smaller team, sometimes in a big enterprise, certain projects can be like understaffed or under budgeted. That is very stressful when you work there, but you actually get to learn a lot of stuff. So when you apply to new jobs and it turns out that the previous experience you're involved in a big project, you're actually taking on a big role, like you're one of the two people that developed the big projects, right? Then you definitely need to elaborate that and focus on every nitty-gritty detail to show that you actually know about the entirety of the project. That's going to show your capability much more than just list out your skill set.
And also, if you're providing links such as maybe a link to your GitHub or to your LinkedIn profile or any other projects or professional profiles you have, make sure to hyperlink them and make sure that they actually work. That's something, we've had a lot of people submit resumes with links on them, but when you go to click the link, they don't work. So you can't see the projects they've done without putting time aside to actually go do it. When you're looking through resumes, you don't have the time to do that.
Make sure you spell your GitHub handle correctly, right? We don't want to click onto a page and then it goes to 404. It's not good. It's not professional. You know what I'm saying?
So there you have it. Those are some helpful tips for you as a developer when it comes to writing your resume. If you have any other valuable insights, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more content.
Otherwise, see you guys next time and good luck finding your dream job. Pow!